Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today for the Career Talk on Journalism. I know it's a very exciting topic, and everybody of today's generation is very curious about it. So we'll start the conversation with our renowned guest in just few minutes. Before that, I would like to tell the people who are joining in that if you have any questions during the session which is going on, you can put it in the chat box, and we will take up those questions on your behalf. And so let's go ahead. Before we start the conversation, I would like to give a brief introduction about the field we are talking today. So today, journalism not only stands as a prestigious profession, but also one of the critical pillars of a functional society. Journalists, we all know how important role they play in our society and its functioning. And also they set the narrative for the people living in a particular country, or, and it's applicable to people across the globe. The core purpose of journalism is to inform, educate, and enlighten the masses over various issues revolving around them. Our guest today is a very familiar name for the UAE residents. Her name is renowned for being attached to the most important stories that we read in the newspapers every day. It is my pleasure to welcome Ms. Anjana Kumar to our Career Talk. She's a Dubai-based senior journalist with Gulf News since 2006 and is a 5-time media award winner. Wow, thanks, Anjana. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. And welcome to everybody who's here on this forum.
We are honored to have you here today and share your experiences and knowledge with us, which can in turn benefit the students who are joining and the parents who are there.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I mean, anything to give a nice information and knowledge to especially millennials who are thinking about journalism. Yes.
Yes. So Anjana, before we go into the depth of journalism, I would like to ask you, when did you realize your passion for being a journalist, and what were your next steps to reach to this point?
You know, it's so interesting. When I read that question, I was like, I went back to thinking. So I met a friend a few years ago, and I told her about my career progression, and she said, you know, I always knew you would be a journalist. And I told her that really, I never thought that. Like even in college and school, my friends realized it around me that I always liked to write. So, you know, anything that I had to explain, I would always write. But even in college, I think when I did Bachelor's of Arts, and I majored in history. Even then, I didn't know that I would want to be a journalist. But it's just that after that, after my graduation, I was still thinking, what should I do? I knew one thing, that I wanted to do masters, and I didn't know what I would want to do, until one day I came across a really beautiful article in the paper, and I said, my gosh, and it inspired me so much. And I said, I think I want to major in journalism. So I did my Bachelor's of Arts in History, and then I did my master's in journalism. Great. But I guess the roots were always there. Like I always liked writing. So my form of expression is through words.
So Anjana, as you said that, you had history. So does having history as your subject helped you in your field? And how were your parents about your choice of career?
So yes, my parents are retired bankers. So my dad is no more, of course. But when I was in college, you know, he was still working in a bank, my dad. And my mom also, you know, she held a senior position in the bank. So they both wanted me, you know how parents are, right? Indian parents are very like, we have done this, so you should also, you know, try and follow us. So my dad and mom wanted me to do commerce. So in fact, 11th and 12th, I did commerce. Okay. And then I sort of, it was not for me. And I told my dad this, that it's banking, accounting, finance is not my thing. I think I want to be in the arts. I want to, I love writing. So my dad said, okay, go ahead. So I coming from a banking background, it was completely like, getting into journalism was like, okay, even now, I was just telling another friend of mine, my mom doesn't understand my work. Like, because she's all about the money, she's all about the finance. She's like, journalists, you don't even make money.
How typical,
Yeah.
parents we have.
Oh yes, yes. But you just gotta know that this is you, and you
Yeah.
have to stick to that. Yeah.
So, Anjana, that makes me ask that, like, as you said, you did your bachelor's in art, and while
Yeah.
doing that, you realized your flair for journalism and you went for the master's in that.
Yes.
Today, there are a lot of options available at
Yes.
the bachelor's level for doing media and communications.
Yes.
So, do you think today's generation have an added advantage having such kind of options available, and should they go for it?
Absolutely. I think today's generation and millennials are so blessed, and there is a wide variety of options. So I would say that everyone should, like the millennials especially, I would say every day take a little time out to just yourself, because at that age, we're like told by our parents, by our friends, by our peers what to do, what not to do. But
Yeah.
I would say, like, just sit down every day, half an hour, do a little bit like your strength, where your interests are, where your passion is. Because my advice to them would be that your job should be something that you enjoy, because
Mhm.
when you don't enjoy your job, it becomes a burden. So you should love what you do, then you don't even feel that it's a job. So
Yeah.
that passion needs to be there. If you're passionate about something, go for it.
Yeah.
And that is my advice. So you just got to feel it from inside.
That's what, Anjana, I'm trying to create awareness among the students and people, that it is very
Yeah.
important to align your passions and
Yes.
skill with your career choice, because the world is evolving, the pressure is high. Until
Yes.
and unless you love your work, you won't
Yes.
be able to sustain.
Absolutely. And today, my advice to parents: please don't push your kids to do what you like. What parents usually have dreams and they want to put it onto their kids. So please don't do that, because your child is a separate individual, is
Yeah.
an individual by himself or herself. So let him or her feel it as to what they want to do. I think that's very important.
Right.
And talking about the options available, it's really enormous.
Mm-hmm.
So I think today's child can develop so much. Like, I know someone who did media studies
Mm-hmm.
and went on to become an influencer, making millions of bucks. So
Mm-hmm.
if you major in media today, doesn't mean that you have to be a journalist earning a salary. You could, end up being an entrepreneur, being your own boss, like be an influencer. So it's, the world is different today.
Yeah. And I think being in journalism also had a lot of more career options under that category. It's not always about writing or reporting.
No,
There are many other roles associated with
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. So I think the broad category would be reporting and editing.
Mm-hmm.
So a reporter is usually, so I'm by heart, I'm a reporter,
Mm-hmm.
because I love to be on site. I love to interview people. I love meeting people. So it's also personality that is so important, that comes into any job profile. So I like meeting people. I like interviewing people. I'm curious about people, what ticks them. So then you're a born reporter. I like, you should also be like, you should thrive on deadlines.
Right.
So the editor tells you, for example, my first job when I started out in Gulf News,
Mm-hmm.
my editor, God bless him, he's still there. He's a fantastic journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to get up at 4 in the morning. He used to reach office actually at 4 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to keep an alarm at 2 o'clock in the morning, get my story ready, and make sure it lands in his inbox at 3:30 in the morning. So when he arrives in the office at 4 in the morning, it would be there in his inbox. So,
Wow.
you know, that's a reporter for you. But the editor, of course, is someone who's in the desk,
Mhm.
who's equally and more responsible,
Right.
because he has to edit what's come in, and he has to see the relevance of that story, place
Mhm.
it on a page, place it on, web. So it's a whole team effort that brings out news to the world.
So Anjana, that makes me ask you this: that what kind of a skill set this profession requires, and are writing skills very essentials, and can they be developed?
Oh, yes. Writing skills for sure can be developed. In
Mhm.
fact, so I changed my genre of writing. So I started off as a business reporter. Then
Mhm.
I do now more human interest stories. So the language, the terms that you use for business is so different
Mhm.
from the human interest. So for me, it was like a whole shift in things. So
Mhm.
in journalism, your language, your style is always developing, and
Right.
you should let it develop. And now I do a lot of human interest stories, and for
Mhm.
me, as much as I do believe that writing is about, so writing is not always about having the fancy vocab in. So
Mhm.
people need to understand what you want to tell them. So information has to be precise, has to
Mhm.
be clearly communicated, and in, like, the way I like to write it is in very simple words. So people,
Mhm.
so even a common man can understand the feeling
Mhm.
that's gone behind in writing the story.
Mhm.
Sometimes if you use fancy language, fancy words, people lose, get lost in the story. So end of the day, the reporter wants the news to be understood
Right.
and yeah, communicated. So I would say, don't worry if you don't have a great vocab or anything. No, it's all about writing from the heart.
Right. So, Anjana, what are the job prospects for a fresher in this field? I understand once you prove your
Okay.
credibility, you have
Yes.
X number of years of experience, you can still
Yes.
understand. But
Yes.
people who are freshly graduating, what
Yes.
kind of how the market is to them, and what would be your tips to work towards it?
Sure. So, I can tell you, when I started interning, initially my sub editor gave me
Mm-hmm.
a couple of things to do. So I was sent on site
Mm-hmm.
to do an interview. So
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to see if I have the reporting skills. So I think any freshman coming in, that would be the first thing that we would want to do: send
Mm-hmm.
them out there, ask them to do a couple of stories, do some interviews, maybe on the phone, a telephone interview, or go attend a press conference and see what you can get out from the press conference, and how you can make a press conference look better than what
Right.
has been portrayed. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one aspect of it. And then the other thing can be like helping out a sub editor
Mm-hmm.
with proofreading. So proofreading is very important for spelling errors, grammatical errors. So
Mm-hmm.
proofreading actually will tell you how grammatically right you are.
Mm-hmm.
And editing, for example, if you are a natural editor, then
Mm-hmm.
you will know what is relevant,
Mm-hmm.
and where you can sort of cut down on words, where you can slice some sentences. So that's, again, it comes naturally. So yeah.
So, are
So
there any particular kind of skills, because you are into this profession? I'm sure you must be
yeah.
into, hiring new people as well. What are the particular skills that you look when you are hiring a person for any position?
That's a very, very good question. So everyone would have heard about this nose, having a nose for the news. So
Yes.
basically, we would want to know someone who's enthusiastic. We would want to meet someone who's enthusiastic, who's like curious to know
Go
more,
getter.
go-getter, and who is ambitious and self-motivated.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I feel like, we all can do better.
Right.
I don't want to classify just one section of people. I think for all of us, it's nice if we can always be self-motivated, find that a little extra push from within ourselves to do better.
Right.
So millennials can do a lot with that as well. So that's very important. We want to see enthusiasm. So we don't want the intern coming in and sitting in the office and like, oh, waiting for things to land. Because I remember as an intern, I was so pushy. I was like asking for work. So I would go to the sub editor and say, "Sir, where are you sending me today? I want to attend a press conference. Sir, I don't want to just sit." Because I think without realizing this, I always was that reporter who wanted to be there on site and get the story done. So I was always like bugging him for work. So I think when we see someone like that, we're happy. Like we say yes, there is someone who's interested and wants to achieve something in journalism. So yeah.
True. I think that is very important that you have the right kind of attitude towards work. You should be a go-getter and you should not be shy about asking work, because many people, they are in a nutshell. They will wait for the people to come and approach them and give work.
Yes.
But in today's era, no matter what field you are in it, if you go and ask for work, people appreciate that.
Yes, because many times we're all busy so the editors have responsibilities. So they can't be all the time thinking about an intern.
Right.
The intern has to do his bit or her bit also to make his or her presence felt.
Felt.
So go and just tap in and say, "Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Anything for me? I mean, I'm free. I'd love to go out," and say it in a nice way, like, "I'd love to attend this event. If you know of any event, then I'd love to do it." So that kind of enthusiasm helps. It really does well. Yeah, and also I feel like as much as educational qualifications are important, but trust me, when you start working, the real learning happens then. So whatever you learn in university is just technical and everything, but you have to experience it. You have to be with the editor. You have to be with your fellow
In
reporters.
fact, these days, I have seen many universities right from the second and third year, they start sending their students for different projects, and they are on the field. So they are gearing up them to face the real world and how the grind will be.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's the best thing to do. But I also feel when they are college students, they are still a little protected. Like, go a bit easy on them. But the real work starts when you are hired in as a reporter. That's it. You need to start delivering, and there are deadlines. So you should be able to handle deadlines as a reporter, for example. And even editors, like, there is so much work that's all the time going on with editors.
Right.
Yeah.
So here we have a first question from the audience. Pradeep is here and he says, "Hello, ma'am. Do we have different skills required based on a language of reporting? I mean, how does an Arabic journalist differ from an English journalist?"
Okay, very nice. So, language I think the only difference is the language. So, news reporting is news reporting, be it any language. So, in the UAE, for example, the Arabic reporter and English reporter both are equally competitive. We both bring out the same news. We both do exclusive stories. We both do. So, it's just the language which is, different, and perhaps the target audience, the reader audience, is different. But otherwise, a journalist is a journalist, be it any language that they're reporting.
Yeah. So, Anjana, I would like to ask, like, people like you or the students who have already realized their passion and they can make the right choices and enter at bachelor's level or master's level. But how about people who have already, completed their education, have worked for a while in a different field, but now realize that they're not in their happy space and they have a flair for going into this print or digital media? What kind of a path they should go for?
Beautiful question. I have someone in my family who has done that. My cousin, he and I used to share a lot about writing because he has a flair for writing as well, and he's been a banker throughout. And when he realized I started becoming successful in my journalism career, he was inspired in a way, and he always liked to write. So what he did was he started freelance writing. So he contacted local papers. So he's based in Bangalore. So he does freelance writing for Deccan Herald, for India Today. So he writes on different topics. He just does feature writing. Slowly, he has been, there. And then he's retired now in the banking field, but he continues to write, and his stories get a lot of display, like really massive displays, because he's passionate about writing. So there is you so even if you have chosen a different career path and you feel that writing is your thing, please do it, because there are newspapers, even Gulf News, we take freelancers. We encourage freelancers to write for us. So approach any local paper and just do that.
And what about reporting, Anjana? If anybody wants to go into the field and report that with no background of knowledge, technical knowledge?
Okay, so see, that would depend. So reporting would, because there is a certain responsibility when you do reporting, because you have to represent a media. Because if you are sort of going and saying that I want to give write about you, so the person will ask you, like, who are you representing? So you have to be working full-fledged. You can do freelance reporting, why not? But you need to be assigned to a newspaper. So in Gulf News, we have freelance reporters. So yes, you can definitely freelance do reporting, but you just have to be assigned to a media house, just so when you're out there trying to get a story, you have a legit company that you're representing, or newspaper that you're representing.
So is there any short-term courses available which people like these kind of people who are not happy in their current space and want to move on? Can they do any short-term course and then come back and approach different organizations for it?
Absolutely. I think I would suggest to just look up the classifieds at your local, cities. So I'm sure there are these short-term courses. So I don't believe any newspaper or media house, they offer these short-term courses, but there are other centers, educational centers, which offer short-term courses. So yes, you can try, doing that. But to be honest, for reporting, if you have, I would also suggest, if you know a local reporter in your city, then just call them up, or an editor, if you know in the city, just call them up and tell them that you have an idea for a story, and give them like a synopsis, like a broad style, that this is what I want to write about. I saw something here which is really interesting. I can make a nice feature out of this. So bounce the idea to them, and you never know, they may just say yes.
Yeah.
So we know a lot of journalists, initially business reporters, who were actually like economists, or they were like, say, MBAs, but they did reporting and writing separately. So yes, there's always room for it. I mean, if you have the flair, the passion for getting the news and writing, yeah.
Okay, so we have another question from the audience. It's Ramona, and she says, do we see women treated at par with men in journalism? Any
Absolutely.
discrimination faced that still need to be overcome in today's age? It's a very important question.
Never. And Ramona is based in India?
I believe, yes.
Okay, so then you would know better how many successful women journalists we have from India. Barkadat, so many. I mean, these are like names that that we're so proud about. So in the UA, by the way, I report to my editor is a woman. So
Mm-hmm.
I report to a woman, and she's such a fabulous editor. And we work so well as a team. So there is never any discrimination. We are always treated, equally. At least
Okay.
that's how it is here. And I know in
That is
India
so
as
good
well.
to hear, Anjana, in today's time.
For sure. In fact, I feel women, especially in TV journalism, get more preference because they like to do a bit of their makeup, their hair, and
Mm-hmm.
all done up. So they get like we see a lot of TV journalists who are women.
Yeah.
So in fact, it can be the other way around. I hope no men are going to be complaining. But no, it's an equal world, please.
Yeah, that is
Absolutely.
good to hear that people are there for their skills and capabilities.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
No more choice.
Okay. So let's take up the next question, which is
Yes.
from Asma. And
Okay.
she says, good evening, ma'am. Very good evening, Asma. Is it necessary to do a bachelor's course in journalism for a journalist? I can
Uh,
also answer that, not really, but let Anjana take it.
yes, exactly. Not really, as I explained. I did history and then got into journalism. But of course, the world is different today from when I did it. So I guess there are options to do media studies right in the beginning. So
Mm-hmm.
if you think you have it in you, if journalism is the thing for you, go ahead and just do the media studies. And I think it will help you because, to be honest, media studies broadens the horizon. So there are so many options that you can do. As I was just saying earlier, you can get
Mm-hmm.
into print media, you can get into broadcasting, so TV journalism, radio journalism, influencing. So a lot of people have turned social media influencers by just doing a bachelor's course in media studies. So yes, if you think you have it in you, why not? Yeah, please go ahead and do it. But again, there's no hard and fast rule. So you can be a major in something else, but journalism just comes your way.
I hope it's answered for you, Asma. And we'll move on to our next question. Is there any? Let me just check. Is it anything in the chat box?
Yeah.
Okay, no. So, Anjana, taking it further, I
Yeah.
would like you're practicing in UAE.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of licensing also associated to it for practicing, or you can just if you're qualified and you have it in you, you can do it?
Basically, the way we work here in the UAE is that you need to be employed by the company that has hired you. So my visa status is right now with Gulf News.
Okay.
Um, uh, uh, yeah, so of course I've been awarded the golden visa, so I can be on my own, and I'm in that process. But to be a proper journalist based here in the UAE, you should
Mm-hmm.
be working with a media house, and you should
Mm-hmm.
be hired by them. So you should be on their sponsorship. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, if you have a spouse and
Mm-hmm.
he can sponsor you, so you can be working in a media house that way too. So there are two options available here in the UAE.
Well, I can see a few people are unmute. I would request them to mute themselves and put up your questions in the chat box so that we can avoid any kind of disturbances during the session. Moving on, Anjana, I would like to ask you that you might journalism is a very broad term, or a TV anchor. What is the progression path in this industry? I mean, what would be your next target? What would be your next level you want to achieve? So what is the career progression in this field?
Okay, so you can start from intern, then become a reporter, then
Mhm,
become a sub editor, then
mhm,
become an editor, then become a senior editor. So the thing is, today titles are getting fancier and fancier.
Right.
So the, for me, I feel the achievement has to be where you are personally satisfied, where
Mm-hmm.
as to where you are, in which level you are. So
Okay.
if the job that you're doing gives you happiness,
Mm-hmm.
so be it.
Okay.
So the title can be anything. So you can be an editor, you can be a reporter, you can be chief reporter, but
Mm-hmm.
the progression is that way. Like, this, as I, said. So ultimately, you want to be like the editor of the paper, or,
Right.
a senior editor of the paper, but it's each to their own, like their ambitions and their strength and where, that lies.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the next question. It's from Mahi.
Yeah,
She
I think there
says,
was sorry, there was a question here from, I think, Mohammed Yassin.
oh,
Hello,
yes.
ma'am, we can publish newspapers without license?
Yes.
No.
Yes. I think you already answered that, that's
Yeah,
why.
papers, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
no, newspaper we cannot publish without license.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
All right. Next, we'll move to Mahi. And she says, same question, ma'am. And journalist बनने के लिए age कितनी होनी चाहिए?
Are wah. So there is no age to it. It can be either millennial, yeah, at so for example, I started writing when my second child was 5 years old. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't start my career like, I did, of course, intern, and I was like working and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
proper job I started like after some time. So it really doesn't matter. Of course, the younger the better. The enthusiasm is there, and all that. But if you have it, if you're motivated, the age doesn't matter.
Age doesn't matter. Yeah. True.
Age doesn't matter. That's the best thing about journalism. It's a very flexible industry.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike just a doctor ke professions, या engineer ke professions, आपको 21 में you're out, at this age you're interning at this age. So that fixed thing is not there in journalism. That's the most beautiful thing about this profession, and maybe that's why I picked this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know your journey. So I know you have done a remarkable achievement, and now you are in the full swing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Which
Thank you.
makes me ask that
Yeah.
what are the future trends in journalism, and
Okay.
what are the upcoming things?
Right. So I think the future is definitely the digital way.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing that even now because a lot of people just are getting their news from social media,
Mm-hmm.
be it Facebook, Instagram, kitne Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So the news is reaching home through your fingertip.
Right.
So the traditional holding the paper, coffee over newspaper is waning. I wouldn't say has totally gone, because I still like my morning paper and
Mm.
coffee with my morning paper. I'm still that person, and a lot of people like me are there. But social media has definitely taken over, and the digital media is really strong now,
Right.
because people want things fast. They want news to reach them really fast, and they want news to reach them like every minute. They want every minute something to be happening.
Right.
So yeah,
We
is
have another
definitely,
interesting question from Pradeep, and
yeah.
he says, ma'am, fake news is really impacting the credibility of news in general. How do you see the industry coping up with it?
Very good question. Absolutely. So, yes, this is a challenge, and I would request readers like you to please not take fake news, and to go with a credible industry, go with a credible newspaper. Said, it really impacts the credibility of news, and as a reader you want to get the right information. So I think as much as there is a responsibility with newspapers, to ensure that that news that is delivered is right, and the reader also must on their part, only accept news that is from a relevant media. Because many times I see WhatsApp may I get messages like, ma'am, what is this? Like, this has been floating around on WhatsApp. This has been floating around on, Instagram. And I'm like, okay, before you panic, like, see where it's coming, see where the source, where the news is coming from, is very important. If you
Right.
don't, if the source is not something that you know you've never heard about that industry, or that company, or that media, then please don't go for them.
Right.
So yeah.
So, Anjana, which makes me,
Yeah.
feel like asking you that since, reporting and you are passing on the information to the whole world,
Yeah.
uh, it's a moral responsibility most of the time. And are you able to discriminate between your personal opinions and the news which is coming up?
Oh, yes. In fact, I don't have the luxury of expressing my personal, sometimes, like when there is something very startling, then yes, you say it, you
Yeah.
write it out from the heart. But in UAE, of course, we have to we have to, I wouldn't say that, we have to use our judgment fairly before,
Yeah.
because I think one of the best things about UAE media is that we do not encourage fake news or anything false. So we have to impart the correct information, and for
Mm-hmm.
that we have to be very responsible
Mm-hmm.
about what we say and what we feel. So I'm definitely not a journalist who will go on Twitter and give my opinion freely and widely. I do express responsibility, because there are people who respect you for your work, and you don't want to lose that respect. So
True.
you
That is a
want,
very powerful statement. It is a lot of respect associated with it.
yes. So and you want to keep that going all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So we have another question, and from Sanya, she says, "Can you describe a time when you pitched a unique story?"
Oh, that is so beautiful. That is such a beautiful question. And when I read that, there's one story which came to my mind. I don't know if it's a unique story, but it's a very heartwarming story. So it
Mm-hmm.
was about this uncle who approached our newspaper,
Mm-hmm.
saying that his niece, a brilliant, brilliant girl who had won many awards, academic awards in Dubai. She was sitting, waiting for someone to help her out with college, because she was a brilliant girl. Her
Mm-hmm.
mother worked as a housemaid in Dubai.
Okay.
But this girl was so naturally intelligent and so academically strong. She had lost her father, this girl, when she was really young, and her mother was working for a local family. And that
Mm-hmm.
local Emirati family was so kind, and this is how most of them are. They had sponsored her school education.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for college, it was looking a bit difficult for this girl, because she had younger siblings, and their education had to be looked after as well. So her uncle approached our newspaper and said, can we do like a help story?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's so beautiful, this one. So I was so fortunate that that story landed to me. I did her story, and that story went viral all
Mm-hmm.
across UAE, and even in India it was picked up. And one of the universities here gave
Mm-hmm.
her a scholarship, so enrolled her for college. And that girl was so brilliant. She did so well through college. She passed in merit and distinction. And next thing you know, she was enrolled in the same university as a teacher.
Wow, that's amazing. So how, it shows how you can impact people's life.
Yes, and I feel so happy that I was able to do that. I mean, this is just one example, but that's the power of the pen. You know, if
Yes.
you use it wisely and correctly and in good earnestness, you can change lives. So I think to answer her question, it was a unique story because her life changed 180 degrees. Today, she's a teacher,
Right.
and she then went on to help her brothers through education. She changed her life and that of her family
Mhm.
completely.
That's
So
amazing. That's wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, it's so nice. And the thing is, she's so humble and grateful about everything. So it was a good story.
Great. So let's move on to the next question. It's from Muhammad Yasin. He says, "Ma'am, tell about important goal that you set in your past, probably."
Yeah, in the goals that I set. Okay. so I yes, I used to be like the goals that I think I set are to basically achieve my deadlines.
Right.
So that's important for me because as a reporter you want to deliver your story on time. So I'm like working all the time, like getting the news, like doing my interviews, delivering it, so
Mhm.
writing the story out. So I think the little goals that I set is the time frame that I set to deliver a story.
Mhm.
Those are little goals. um, so for me personally, I let things flow. I used to initially get stressed about where my ambitions were going and all that, and then I
Mhm.
realized that just enjoy, because uh, I love my job and I enjoy it so much, so I didn't want to stress about other things. Oh
Right.
well, that's a
You
nice
have another
question.
question.
Yeah.
I
I
think
just
they are
saw
picking
that.
up on the right. Yeah. So Sania says, "Have you managed the stress of tight deadline?"
Oh yes, oh my God, it's been a beautiful journey, Sanya. You know that managing deadlines. As I told you, I started my career with with a boss who used to arrive at the office at 4 a.m. So I used to keep alarm at 2 a.m. and write my story out and deliver it. So it is a struggle, but you need to just balance it out. So there are some times I would just go out and I would like breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, then come back to my seat and write it out. So that is important, I think, because I'll be very honest with you. When I started my journalism career, because of the stress, because it's a very important thing that she's brought up, because getting up early meant your whole system goes for a toss. I gained a lot of weight actually
Mhm.
in my first 5 to 8 years of my career. I gained a lot of weight because of lack of sleep, eating at different times. And then I sort of did some meditation and got some balance in. And then I realized that after some time you need to cut off. So and then I had a boss who said something really beautiful. So as a reporter, you want to see that your news out there and everything. So I asked him, like, sir, mera story, mera story abhi tak wo aaya nahi, ye kab hai, ye change hai, wo change hai. He said, Anjana, don't be married to your story,
Mhm.
because once you get married to your story, you're attached and you don't let it go. Then you're like committed. So one advice that I would give to people looking at journalism: detach from your attachments. So that's
Mhm.
very, very important. So you write a story, give it, and leave the rest to the editors to take care of it. So
Right.
even with editing, like, if you're an editor, like, you work for that time, and then you sign off after some time, go home, enjoy with the family, go out, do your own thing. Because if you work continuously 24 hours doing it, it can be very, very stressful. So that's how I learned to manage my stress. Because as a journalist, like news was breaking all the time, and I was all the time connected to, my office and everything. And it takes a toll because you're human after all. So you need
Mhm.
to cut off after some time.
True. That is actually, very important. And I know your journey. Would you like to tell about the people that apart from being a renowned reporter, you also have a great presence in the fitness world?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, so I did adopt to fitness because Meghna has seen me the days. In fact, Meghna and I met at a fitness center.
Yes.
We became such good buddies, like at a fitness center, because
Yeah.
it was important for me. So I remember I used to run straight from work and hit the gym in the evening. And remember, Meghna, I would tell you, oh my God, I was stuck at work. And
Oh, yeah. But
yeah,
I
so
was inspired by you, Anjana. You were the one who used to do 2 hours, and I was struggling with 1 hour.
oh my God. No, but our journey has been so beautiful. I'm so blessed to have known Meghna. But really, yes. So I introduced fitness into my life because that gave a break from my work, and that made me, because remember, when you do fitness, it releases happy hormones. So when you're happy, you think positive. When you think positive, you deliver everything positively. So whether it's at work or on your personal level as well, it gives you a lot of strength, confidence. So I think that's what I did. I like, so fitness is so part of my life now, just as journalism is. So that's another way to beat stress.
Exactly. We need to balance out our life, and
Mhm.
especially being a life in the field of journalism and
Yes.
media, there is no end time, there is no start time. So you need to
No.
figure out time for yourself.
Absolutely. That me time is very, very important. I
Hmm.
think in any profession, and I think in journalism, we are just a bit luckier. So I think if I was a surgeon, then it would have been more difficult. If I was a doctor, I think maybe it would have been more difficult. But in journalism, that's okay. There's a bunch of editors looking at the paper, and that's it. You sign off, after some time.
Right.
So yeah, yeah.
Yasin has another question for you. He says, can you describe the two best qualities of your writing style?
Okay, very nice, very sweet. Thank you. So I think the two qualities that, because I write from the heart. So when
Hmm.
my stories are also human interest stories, so I pour a lot of emotions into my story.
Hmm.
And the other thing is I don't use fancy vocabulary. So when I write something in a very simple, straight way, uh, effective communication, basically. Not too long sentences, for example, not too many words in a sentence that will just send people like going everywhere. So I just keep it
Not
short.
going the Shashi Tharoor way. We
No,
need a
no. Oh
dictionary.
my God, Shashi Tharoor, as much as I respect him as as
I
a
love the way he speaks.
he does speak. You see, that's the thing. He speaks really well,
Yeah.
and I love listening to him. But if I have to read his book, it's like it's a overload for me. As much as a prolific writer he is, I mean, he's
I
amazing.
feel bad. I'm a convent educated girl and I still have to look out for the words meaning there.
I know. No, but that's the thing. See, you can create your own niche in journalism. You don't have to be a Shashi Tharoor to be, a prolific journalist, like a prolific writer. You can do that in your own style. So create your own style, create your own niche. Find, as long as you find that cracking story,
Right.
um, and it's all about, end of the day, your readership, your viewership, what they like, what they like to hear. So I feel a lot of people love to know about another person's life, as much as we wouldn't want to.
True.
Trust
Yeah.
me. So if you can show something beautiful, if you can put a nice feature story out there, if you have have a nice feature-ish kind of thing, to relate to,
Mhm.
then yes, why not? And do it in a simple way, as I always say.
Right.
Yeah.
So, wow, it's already almost going to be an hour.
I
Has been a
can't
wonderful
believe it. Yeah.
conversation.
Beautiful. So nice.
Yeah, great. We have
Yes.
another question.
Huh?
Ramona says, "Ma'am, does blogging help?"
Yes, it does. Because as I said, bloggers. See, the thing is, they do clash with journalists. As a journalist, I shouldn't be like, I would want to say that be a conventional journalist. But today the world is different. So
Mhm.
it's definitely the blogging, the bloggers, the vloggers, the social media has actually taken news to a different level. So yes, the thing with blogging and social media is consistency. So it's very interesting when you start off blogging, but keep it going, don't stop. And find your channels to reach out, to people. So basically find those avenues where what you're blogging can reach people, and do it consistently, because people like to see consistency. So if you give that break, then they lose interest.
Mhm.
So if you can make it effective, and then why not?
Right. So,
Yeah.
as this blogging topic has come, Anjana, as we were discussing earlier,
Yeah.
also, so does your job, your work profile gets affected by the different kind of bloggers and influencers who are present
Yes.
in the market?
Sadly so. Sadly so, because especially like some of my motoring journalists,
Mm-hmm.
who are like fantastic writers and who know their business really well, are always sidelined by influencers. So basically, if there's a new car, launch and test driving, then the influencers get the first peek into test driving. So things like that. Yes, influencers do clash in with us,
Mm-hmm.
and their content or the information that they get out may not be as strong as what or as authenticated as how we give it out. But that's the world today, unfortunately. It's
Right.
all about the followers and the reach. So if there is an influencer with over 1 million followers, then hey, they get a preference.
Yeah.
Yes.
I come to the last question, Anjana, which I asked to all the people who have been on my career talk is, did pandemic had an impact on your profession?
Definitely,
Mhm.
big time, especially just the way the pandemic affected
Mhm.
all industries, most
Mhm.
industries. The journalism industry too has, took a big hit.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, we had to let go of so many of our, cherished co-workers. But that's what the pandemic was about. But the good news is that, at least in the UAE here, the numbers of the COVID cases have dropped massively. And the UAE is doing so much to ensure that everyone's vaccinated, and, they're all in good health. So things are picking up. The sentiment is looking more positive than it was like this year, this time last year. So definitely things are looking up, and we hope that we come back. But yes, it's been, and I think one of the other impacts that we have seen is that um, print media has waned a little bit, and it's the
Mhm.
digital media that's on focus. So a lot of stress is given on online media. So
Mhm.
basically online news, so sharing news online digitally has become a lot more important.
Mhm.
And I think that will be the case.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Anjana, any last thing you want to say to all the students who are aspiring to be in this field,
Oh
and
my
any note for
gosh.
the parents whose kids are interested in this profession?
Oh, absolutely. So, parents, please, my first advice would be to the parents, please don't sort of as much as you love your kids, don't put your influences on them, because ultimately a career stays with you lifelong. It's like marriage, right? Don't get married to the wrong person. So don't get into the wrong profession, because it stays with you. You want to be happy in your career. So let them choose their path, and where they feel their heart is and where they're passionate about. Please, to the students, more than welcome, join the journalism industry. I mean, it's beautiful, especially in India. My God, it's thriving. Like, right, TV journalism, and see, just see if you can handle it. I mean, you guys must be watching TV news, and you see the reporters out there, and hats off to them. I mean, they are there in the middle chasing news. So if you think you are that person and you have the fire in you, go for it.
Yeah.
Please go for it and enjoy it, I would say.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
we'll take up the last question from Nandini. She says,
Yeah.
being a journalist, how do you feel?
Oh, thank you so much. I feel amazing. And good evening to you, Nandini. I feel amazing. I really love it. And this is something that I guess was just in me, and this is me. I can't think of being in any other profession than journalism and reporting. And by God's grace, it rewarded me as well. I think I had, I think I have still a lot of fire, and that is what has, kept me going. So pretty much like, the Barkha Dats and all those women out there that you see in India, Indian
Yeah.
news. I think I'm pretty much like that. I have a lot of fire. I just want to chase my stories, pursue them. I never give up. And remember, there are so many challenges. And also, I forgot to mention this, Meghna, a lot of
Yeah.
psychology plays in journalism.
Yes.
So, because it's not easy getting an interview, trust me, I have, had to, chase my stories, chase people to give me an interview. And then some people, they are very, they're not easy to talk to. So you need to, psychology plays a lot of, role.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that everybody I've met, like I've interviewed top businessmen here in the UAE, and they all have unanimously said, "My God, you made us feel so comfortable." Because not everybody is ready to open their heart out and
Yeah.
share news to a media. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have blocks. Oh, newspaper, media house, ye nahi bolna hai, wo nahi bolna hai. So as a journalist, as a reporter, the challenge is more on us to ensure that we get whatever we get, but of course in the right and responsible manner. So
Yeah,
being
responsibility is very important because if you fabricate what you have received,
no.
then it makes your career difficult.
Definitely not, and you cannot. And in this place, it's very strict in the UAE. We have legit laws. So even if we are recording a conversation, like an interview, we need to inform the person that, "Sir, ma'am, I'm actually interviewing. I mean, I'm recording this conversation. I hope you're fine with it." So we need to
Yeah,
take the permission of that person before we record. So if we
right.
just record something without their knowledge and print it out, we cannot, we can be held liable. So in
Yeah.
the most responsible manner, you need to get that news out from there. So all that is a challenge. So that's very important. So if you're a people person, if you
Mm-hmm.
can play psychology, if you can be like, if you leave your egos,
Mm-hmm.
like you don't walk there with the air like, "Oh, I'm a 5-time media award winner, so you better give me the interview and the story." So you
Right.
need to drop all that and just like make the person feel comfortable. And your ultimate goal, somebody asked me, "What's your ultimate goal?" So that's my goal, actually. Now that I'm saying this, my ultimate goal is to get that story out there in the most
Hmm.
responsible manner.
Right.
So yeah.
That's great, Anjana. We have completed 1 hour, and it has been
Wow.
amazing, time to know
Thank you.
what your journey is and the wonderful
Wow.
questions which have been coming up from the audience. I really love
Thank
the way everyone
you.
interacted, and Ramona, my pleasure. It's my work. I want all the students and all the people to be aligned with their passion and skills and do what you love to do. And I myself love my work. I'm enjoying talking to such wonderful
Yeah.
people, helping the students out there.
Yeah.
It's ultimately, it's a win-win situation for all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Nandini. Thank you, Ramona. Thank you, Asma. So lovely, so lovely.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Anjana. Thank you
much.
taking out
Thank
time
you,
for me.
Meghna. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to have some more sessions in the future once my season 2 comes back.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to call me whenever you want. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you to everyone. Have a fabulous evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice evening
Bye.
ahead. See you
Bye.
guys.
Good luck. Good luck to all
Bye-bye.
the budding journalists.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.